All right, everybody. So we're going to be looking at 13b. And so it says, base your answers to the following question on the topograph map below and on your knowledge of earth science. Some counter lines have been drawn. Line AB is a reference line on the map. So we already know from the previous problem that the counter lines have been drawn, right? Our 60 and our 70 counter line. And so we're going to look at 13b, okay? Here we go. Oh, there we go. All right. So it says, describe the evidence shown by the counter lines that indicate Stone River flows downhill in a northeastern direction. All right. So what evidence that I see here that lets me know that the river is flowing towards the northeast? All right. What evidence do I know? Well, look at the V, right? Counter lines make a V shape when a river crosses those lines. You see the V right here? The rule is that where the base of the V is, the river is flowing in the opposite direction. So the base of the V is pointing down into the left, southwest. That means that the river is flowing northeast. Even take a look right here at Stone River. The base of the V is pointing, right, southwest. So that means that the river is flowing northeast. All right. So these are some of the things that you could have stated. You could have stated that counter lines make V shapes where the base of the V points, southwest. All right, let me zoom up. All right, so counter lines make V shapes where the base of the V points southwest. River flows in the opposite direction. You could have also said that elevations are decreasing towards the northeast. If you take a look, right, the river always flows from higher elevation to lower elevation. The higher elevation numbers are right here. And if you'll notice, right, where the river is flowing, the numbers get smaller as you're heading northeast. So that's another way to determine which direction the river flows. It flows in the direction where elevation numbers are decreasing on the river. All right, everybody. So we're going to take a look at number 14. So number 14 states, the map below shows the average annual snowfall in inches for Western New York State. All right. According to the map, which of these cities receive the greatest average annual snowfall? So when I'm looking at this map right here, the greatest number that I see is going to be 200, right? And so I'm just going to shade in this area right here is the area that receives the greatest average annual snowfall, right? Now I just need to find out which of these cities fit in this area, okay? So that means I'm going to use page 3 of my reference tables, all right? Now, what are some clues for me to find out where this is, where I highlighted in blue on page 3? Well, I see that it's underneath Lake Erie, right? And you see New York is here, and right at the bottom, right, underneath, outside of this borderline is Pennsylvania. So we see this borderline. It's a little bit above the borderline, and we know it's below Lake Erie. So I'm going to circle these 4 cities on page 3, and you tell me which one of these would be the case, all right? So one of the choices was Elmira. Another one was Jamestown. Another one was Niagara Falls. And the last one was Buffalo. Now, remember what we stated on our sheet. It is definitely below Lake Erie, close to the borderline of New York. So when I take a look, it's below Lake Erie, close to the borderline of New York. And so that means the best option for that is Jamestown. All right, it's below Lake Erie, right? Because Lake Erie's here, and it is right before the borderline. You see Pennsylvania, right? Is right here underneath New York. And look at the sheet, Pennsylvania. So it's right close to the borderline. And it would be right here as well, too. So that's the correct answer is Jamestown. All right, everybody. So we're going to look at 15. So it says basic answers to the question on the field map and on your knowledge of earth science. The map shows the depth of Cuba Lake located in New York State at latitude 42 degrees and 14 minutes, longitude 78 degrees and 18 minutes west. Isoline values indicate water depth in feet. Points A and B represents locations on the shoreline of Cuba Lake. Points W, X, Y, and Z represents locations on the bottom of the lake. The 30-foot isoline has been partially drawn. And so number 15, well, all right. So number 15 says, it says, state the compass direction and distance in feet from point Y to point X, okay? So from point Y to point X, well, I'm sorry, point Y to point Z. So I'm going to zoom out so that way we can see everything. All right, here we go. So if I'm starting right here at point Y and I'm going to point Z, right? Then what will my direction be? Well, just in case if you forgot, I'm gonna move this up just a little bit and zoom this out just a little bit too. All right. See this north, right? So this I'll put right here. I can fill in north, south, east, and west, right? And so when I draw my line from Y to Z, I'm going down to the left, right? I'm going down to the left. So therefore, when I go down to the left, what compass directions do I cross? W and S. So my answer is going to be southwest. All right, my answer is going to be southwest from my direction. Okay. Now to find the distance using this scale. Find the distance between Y and Z. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my scrap paper. I'm going to take my scrap paper. And Y, Z. Y and Z. And now I'm going to compare it to the scale. March at 0. And same thing. You see how it's bigger? My Y to Z distance is bigger than the scale. So I write the max value right here, which was 2,000. All right. Then I'm going to scoot it over. And we're 2,000 to 0. And the rest of that distance covers the Z is another 2,000 feet. So 2,000 plus 2,000 gives me what? 4,000 feet. Oh, sorry, so you can see 4,000 feet when I add the two. So therefore, my answer is southwest, and my answer is going to be 4,000 feet as my answer. All right, so it says basic answers to the question on the field map and on your knowledge of earth science. The map shows the depth of Cuba Lake located in New York State at latitude 42 degrees north, 14 minutes north, longitude 78 degrees and 18 minutes west. Isoline's value indicate water depth in feet. Points A and B represents locations on the shoreline of Cuba Lake. Points W, X, Y, and Z represents location on the bottom of the lake. The 30-foot isoline has been partially drawn. All right, so let's take a look at number 15. So it says, number 15, it says, state the compass direction and distance in feet from point Y to point Z. So when I take a look, all right, when I take a look from point Y to point Z, all right, look at the direction. From point Y to point Z, I'm going down and to the left, right? I'm going down to the left. So that means when I see this compass direction right here, see where it says north, right? I know north is here, south is at the bottom, east is to the right, west is to the left. Down to the left means I'm going in between W and S. So my direction is, to start off, is going to be southwest. All right, that's the first part of the answer. Because now the question does say, state the compass direction and distance. So how do I find the distance? Using this scale, I'm gonna look from point Y to point Z. All right, so when I take a look, this is a scrap paper. I'm gonna mark from Y is here, Y is here, and Z is here. And so therefore, I'm gonna match it to the scale. All right. So one of the things that you notice, my distance is bigger than the scale. So what do? I'm gonna put the max value, 2,000, which is right here, and I'm gonna write 2,000 feet. Now I just need to find the distance of this space that's left over. So what I'm gonna do, right, this is 2,000. I'm gonna move this over to 0, and I'm gonna find the distance of the remaining amount. And I see another 2,000, so I'm gonna write 2,000. And take a look, 2,000 plus 2,000 gives me what? 4,000 feet. So therefore, my correct answer is going to be 4,000 feet as my distance, and my direction from point Y to point Z is going to be southwest. All right, number 16. Number 16 says, determine the altitude of Polaris for an observer at Cubic Lake to the nearest degree, right? To the nearest degree. And actually should say nearest whole degree, so it's a typo right there. So what do I know about the altitude of Polaris, right? The altitude of Polaris is what angle I would see the star Polaris. And what do I know about the rule? The altitude, I'll write it here. The altitude of Polaris, all right, is equal to my latitude, all right? It's equal to my latitude. I'm just not writing degrees north, okay? So is there any information that tells me about the latitude of Cuba Lake? Well, it says right here in the background information that we should have read, right? This map shows the depth of Cubic Lake located in New York State at latitude 42 degrees and 14 minutes north. Because the question said to the nearest degree, right? I'm only just going to be focusing on the latitude degree number. So what is the altitude of Polaris? The altitude of Polaris is equal to my latitude, which is 42 degrees. So my answer is just 42 degrees, not 42 degrees north. All right, the altitude of Polaris is equal to the latitude. You're just not including degrees north, right? It's just 42 degrees. All right, if you wanted to see the first couple of problems, you should watch my other video. All right, other than that, that's labeled Topographic Map Review number 2. Other than that, have a wonderful, blessed day. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.